Okay, good day, dear colleagues. We're starting our next panel, and I would like to say that the panel is very relevant for everyone, and I think will be very interesting for everyone of us. The new business strategy for the new economy, and when we have discussed of what do we mean by that, a new strategy for the new economy, we have started to question when did the old economy end, and how long this new economy will last, and whether the world of this constant need to adapt to the conditions that are coming will ever change to become more sustainable. So we're going to be speaking about the sustainable strategies as well. My name is Markian Malski. I am the attorney at law and partner in Altsinger Law Firm, and I am the honorary consul of Austria to Lviv and the head of the business association in Western Ukraine. And today, as of our panel is rich with outstanding entrepreneurs, the one who drives the world with their choices, drives Ukraine with their choices. I love this panel very much, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce you today's panelists. So I think that if Charles Darwin would have written his theory today, he would be writing on the adaptation need and skills, and not the stronger would survive, but the one who is capable to adaptation. So our ever-changing world has also created the multiple challenges that have forced the interpreters to take more interesting choices as well in the last time. So what is needed to be done? What kind of strategy you should adapt? What you have learned in the, I hope, post-COVID world, but even though we have 16,000 people with COVID today in Ukraine, what should we take attention to? And we would like to listen to some business hacks from you. How do you work with your businesses right now? We'll talk with teams and HR management. A lot of other things to cover, but I'm sure that we'll manage to do that. I would like to also ask our audience to send your questions to our speakers through the Telegraph bots. So please address your questions in the chat. I will briefly introduce all of our speakers at the panel, even though I do believe that you are all aware of all those speakers. You have heard about them a lot and you know them. But let me introduce you. Vyacheslav Klymov, the famous Ukrainian entrepreneur. For more than 20 years, they have been already developing the Nova Poshta company, and they have been also implementing the dreams for those people who are dreaming of their own aircraft, because we have heard that Nova Poshta is going to create their own airlines. That will be a good question, because you know that Nova Poshta is the leader in the express delivery sector in Ukraine. Then please welcome Vyacheslav Lysenko. He is also a Ukrainian entrepreneur and investor. I think one of the best experts in Ukraine on the issues of making business with China. And he's overall an expert in Ukraine-China relations. He has experience of working with China and distant countries starting from 1994. He is an expert in the customs law, and he knows more about the effective building of the work with customs. He's an expert in the economical external relations, and he is an expert of Ukraine-China communication company. With a great delight, I would like to also welcome Viktoriya, Tigipko, the founding partner of the TI Ventures Fund, the fund that has been investing into multiple different innovative internet projects in Ukraine, in US, in Europe. The fund has already founded more than 100 companies, and the fund has also created the iClub, the Investors Club, and actually the closed community for angel investors in order to create the ecosystems of private investment. Viktoriya has also been the initiator of creating the free-of-charge clubs of programming for children, the Code Club UA, a really cool idea for children who are learning how to code. And she's a co-founder for the WTAG, the closed community for the leaders, women leaders in IT and the tech businesses. And I think you are all aware that she's also the president of Odessa International Film Festival. The final speaker for today is Volodymyr Lempert, the founder, owner, and the CEO of the Spetztekhosnastka Ltd. Out of these years, the company that has been founded in Kamyansk city, that used to be called Dniprodzerzhinsk, is now turned to become a leader in Ukraine and is known in Ukraine and all over the world for the production of the high-quality molds for creating plastics. They are providing all of the needed materials for the cars created by Volkswagen and Volvo and other companies. So that is one of the most important companies for the automobile industries. So let us start with a very simple question. How did you go through COVID? What have you learned through COVID times? What was the hardest for you in your adaptation to the COVID reality? I would like to ask you to do it 2 minutes each, and then we will get back to the strategy of your companies and what are you going to, and we'll have a better discussion to each and every one of you on what is the scope of your interest. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, of course, the COVID crisis has been a significant challenge for all of the businesses that we've had and for our businesses as well. I think that the most important output for us was the following: that in order to not only to survive, we don't want just to simply survive, we wanted to succeed even under those conditions. That is the mission of every businessman, that in order to succeed under those circumstances that we have right now, you need to have more adaptive skills, and you have to make your decisions faster. Not just faster, but also you have to execute your decisions faster. Because one thing is about making a decision, to have this decision made in a cabinet that's, on the framework of your CEO or your board would make a decision, 30,000 people will now wear masks, and you'll teach them to do whatever they have done before in a completely different way in order to fulfill all of the security needs for our clients and for ourselves as well. And a complete different thing is to make this machine, this aircraft, in a single moment of time to shift its direction and start behaving in a completely different way. So first of all, the response speed, the manageability of the company, so that the company could complete all of the needed commands, to do that in the fastest pace, not only to do that in a week or in months as that used to be before, but sometimes to be able to respond in hours but not days. The speed of reaction, the know how to adapt. Another outcome that we have drawn to ourselves after the COVID, and maybe I am stepping to the main topic of our today's panel and our today's discussion, I do believe that there is a huge demand for talents right now, a huge demand for talents that work inside of the companies right now. If before, let us call it during the peaceful times, you might have allowed yourself to build the team of the really strong middleman. Let's say like I'm going to be using this kind of terms from football. You might have had the players in the middle grounds. So right now, everything is being so acute, and I'm speaking about the COVID crisis, and I'm talking about the overall age of the new economy. Everything is now that acute and that fast that maybe I think the main thing right now, the main battlefield today for the management and administration is actually fighting for talents and training your talents. And the third lesson that we have learned for ourselves is basically that this time has taught us to be more open and to talk more. Because right now, the demand for communication, the need of communicating truth, the need of not being tricky, of not being ludicrous, of keeping up with your promises. This is an important issue right now. Those are our lessons learned from COVID crisis. Thank you. Okay, Vyacheslav, you're dealing with Ukraine and China issues for a longer period of time, and we have spoken today and yesterday that logistics had increased its scales. So what can you say right now? How did the COVID influence the trade with China, and where are we going to? What's going to happen next? Well, there's a couple of things that I wanted to say about the crisis because, in China, the word crisis is made out of two hieroglyphs. So basically, it's one of them is the losses, the other one is opportunities. And, starting from 1994, I think that half of me is already Chinese. And in China, they say you should not think about the losses. The losses will bother you on their own means. You will lose everything that you have to lose during crisis, but still try to look for the opportunities during the times of crisis as well. I think that we also see how much China has won out of those crises and out of those coronavirus problems, starting with selling all of the materials and ending up with this logistics that you have mentioned on your own is now growing. Chinese men, they're making their decision fast and they're following the decision. Okay, what's the situation with COVID in China? Because we have heard that it's already ceased to be in China and we hear nothing about it right now. Well, there are many different questions about how did the COVID end, because how can you localize the disease in such a big country? I think that the vaccination has started in around 2 months. Even maybe unofficial vaccination, because basically you would not be able to fight the problem of coronavirus with a population of 1.5 billion people. It's a question. But then they know how to seize the moment. They know how to seize the opportunities. They know how to adapt to any situation coming. That's true. I'm also frequently being asked when the overall freight will fall and logistics will fall. Well, first of all, in the next 6 months, it will not. It will only increase. So the booking for the aircraft logistics was already more than $159. I think it will always call the 12 because we will pay for that as well, because we also are dependable on this Chinese needle. And if we speak about what kind of opportunity it gives us, we have to consider that as well. For example, for our company, I can say that we made the biggest breakthrough in the moment of those recent crises, the best investment, the increase of the monetization of the company. It's only have been done because we always have been sticking to one focus. We have seen some opportunities. We tried to find the opportunities that we couldn't see. When we found this opportunity, we started act straight away. And based on this, I believe that the monetization of our company has increased by 2 or 3 times. Thank you. Viktoriya. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Well, as far as we're dealing with venture businesses, so adapting and being ready to risk, that is something that is in the DNA of the venture investor. So we always have been highly adaptable, and the COVID-19 has only accelerated those processes. If we have tried to review the verticals when we have invested, so the TA Ventures has already had 181 new investments and just 33 new investments out of the 3 months. So the processes have accelerated. We have more money. We have to know how to use them in the right way. We actually understand we have just stepped into this COVID era. We are not getting out of it yet. We have increased our own direction of tech. We are investment both in Europe and in US, where we strongly believe in creating the companies of the iTech. We are following and tracking digital health and everything that connected to that. We are empowering all of those verticals that are currently relevant. The remote work and everything that gives you the opportunities for the remote work, the soft, the price tag. There's a lot of interesting companies raising due to the 70% of people are currently can be working remotely under the new format of the corporations and companies. Most of the corporations have also offered the people to work not only from their own countries of residence or just one city of residence. You can work abroad as well. So right now we're providing the safety of work, which is very important, the cybersecurity of work and the opportunity to communicate and collaborate with teams. So we are looking into these directions as well. Of course, understanding the situation that we've had with COVID, those problems with deliveries that used to be not only in Ukraine, but also in the world and in Europe. So we started to invest as well into the logistics and providing this opportunity to receive everything in 15 minutes time. This is something that the Amazon has provided to us. And right now, this is our new reality. We have made 5 new investments into European countries, in the UK, in the US, in New York. We have made those new investments. In Japan, we had our first investment, in Australia, in Canada. So basically we're investing into logistics. The new logistics, the new mobility is the reshifting and rethinking about everything. Our portfolio company has now received an order for 500 delivery robots. So the world is changing. We're following the trend, and the team has also started to work. We have broadened the partners. We have 3 venture partners. We have the ventures managers. We are all located in Europe and in US, so it was very easy for us to work. But a lot of our colleagues, they have to make the transition. I went to Berlin. I have been to Berlin last year. Just yesterday, I've just almost missed my flight. I have understood that the UK has changed the regulations. I cannot go to London, even though we have the iClub opening there. So basically, we are living on in everyday changing world. So every day something changes, every week something changes. So psychologically it's very important for us and for the team to preserve this certain level of calmness, the real calmness, and to know how to deal with stresses, because the stresses have started to appear from the places you would never believe would come before. Thank you, Volodymyr. You're the representative of the classical businesses, and we've heard from Viktoriya that right now we're living on the powder box. So basically, historically, leader would be a person who maybe wouldn't been ready for this kind of a constant powder boxes. By the way, visit Volodymyr's site. You have a lot of people working for them, especially the people from the humanities. You'll see a lot of nice technical things. That basically, Volodymyr, how do you live right now? Because a lot of people have heard that the automotive sector has some troubles right now. You don't have enough chips. I'm very interested in why would you should have chips in every single detail, but that's a different question. Your position, what do you think about that? Our company has been operating since 1989, so we have survived lots of local and international crises. We had the crisis in the automotive industry in 2009 when we have the downfall of scale of production. In 2019, we had the exhibition in Germany on the processing of the plastic components, and at those exhibitions we could have already seen that there are some problems with the automotive production, in that sense that people do not want to buy the combustion engines, that they're already looking for the electrical engines already. They don't want to use the traditional cars, as we can call that. So that is, well, at that moment we have already started to search for the alternative ways. We have had the 60 or 70% of the automobile industries, and we started to focus on searching for Ukrainian clients, domestic clients for our product as well. So when the crisis hit, the share of Ukrainian clients has increased for us, and the share of the automotive industry has decreased for us. And we're quite inertious businesses. We are working in time. So the first half of the year for us was quite inertious, and we have been still working with the automotive industries and their orders. But then when we are working with, for example, additional stereo systems, the corpuses for the stereo systems of the cars, we had a downfall with that. In a couple of months, the production wasn't working. I live in Kamyansk, and so every day I work at the plant, and we're making these decisions in a really fast pace at our plant. What is very important that our team has been working for many years. The people know what they're doing, what they're responsible for. So there's no shocking situation for all of us, and it's quite clear that you cannot remotely run a machine or process the product. So that is why we have never considered the remote work for our workshops. It is impossible for us. But the sales people, there's just a very small percentage of all of our people working. So we still had new opportunities. We started to volunteer for producing the protective shields for the hospitals. It's still in high demand. We have grown the sales inside of Ukraine significantly because we are always also producing some packagings, and people have stayed at home, and so the consumption has grown as well for the food products, which given us the opportunity to sell more as well. Moreover, we're working in the automotive sectors, and we have been working with some of the companies as well that have been producing the products abroad. And throughout the times of the crisis, they have increased their sales and they have increased in their consumption. So we have been starting to provide them more products. Okay, thank you. So we'll follow the Chinese philosophy, and I really liked at this moment you should not care about the losses. The losses will find you still. But okay, let us talk about not the losses, but about the opportunities. A lot of your businesses have passed this time successfully. And speaking on this title of our panel, we haven't understood where did it all started and for how long this new economy will last. I think this adaptivity time is going to stay with us for a longer period of time, and I think that the sustainability that we all would like to see, we will not going to see that in the closest years. And in this case, I've said, people dream of skies. You've dreamed more, and you're right now is that you're now going into the not only in the transportation, but now this information has turned out public that you would like to buy your airline. So how did you go to that? So do you see any obstacles on this absolutely new direction for you? I'm not sure that anyone has their own private airline, so I think you're going to be the trendsetter. So do you think you will be followed? Well, I'll start with the end. Whether the people are going to do the same. Yes, of course they will. The people are going to copy us. That's a normal thing to do. And I'm sure that just recently we've had this amount of meetings in our company, and we have said that our management should be ready, so that we're always going to be pioneers and people are going to be always following us. That's the good thing to happen. That's the normal thing to do. And we have to recall the experience of Toyota, because as lots of people know, that Toyota was always really welcoming all of the friends and competitors, showing them their production lines. So basically, they always welcome in that, because while the competitors are going to be building the same, they're going to create a different generation of what they're building. For us, we have already, for multiple years already, we have been the leading delivery, international delivery service. I cannot say that we are number one right now, but we are in the leading position still there, and we're really fastly developing and trying to develop it properly. As far as the scales of delivery are constantly growing, the demand on quality from the side of our clients, the expectations of our clients and on the delivery, there also increases all the time. We have faced that idea that we have to prolong the control line for our logistics. So in order to provide the high quality that is now needed by the clients, to provide them the same level of service that we provide while we deliver in Ukraine. Well, of course, in our understanding, the customer wants, people do not want to face any difficulties in deliveries. Their main goal is very simple. Their main goal for the people is to receive this phone, or to get their sneakers. So they don't really want to think on in what way the delivery works. Sometimes people don't even want to care, or just don't want even to think of where this delivery comes from. The main goal for the people is start using this phone or start wearing these sneakers. So in our understanding, the delivery from, let us say, New York should be at least comparable to the time of the delivery for the territory of Ukraine. And as far as the company has already taught our clients about the good delivery in Ukraine, thus it means that, and we do that gladly, we have to use the same standards for the international delivery as well. So this desire to be needed by the clients, this desire and eagerness to deliver in the fastest and the most quality way, it's actually given us the opportunity to prolong the line. And of course, in this case, we have started this delivery between the continents and between the countries. If the automotive international transport, we have already used that, then, the aircrafts and air delivery, we used to work with our partners, and we're really grateful to our partners. We will continue in collaboration with all of our partners in that as well. But this potential for growth had been something that we've needed to try as well. And we've needed to have it as an additional resources. That is why we wanted to have the, again, cargo airline. It's not a passenger airline, it's a cargo airline. And as a company, we're very ambitious. And of course, we have made this first step into that. I do believe that in a year, due to really complex regulatory issues, I do hope that in a year, or maybe in a year, or in 10 months, or in 12 months, we'll be able to complete our first flight. But still, we believe that it's still a very ambitious step for us, and this ambitious has been reflected even in the title of this ambition, because we've given it a name of Supernova Airlines. So the supernova, then basically that's a term that's a definition from the astronomy. That's called astronomical term that speaks about the supernova star. That's when the star starts shining 10 times more than it used to be. So that's why to be continued. Okay, Vyacheslav, you have 30,000 employees. You consider robotization as some kind of a next step for your company? For us, the automation or robotization is no longer something exotic, is no longer a step to the future, because that's already something that we currently live with. In our company, the flows have been divided into two main components, the cargo delivery and the parcels delivery. So the cargo deliveries and the cargo flow has almost fully been processed with the help of robots. I do believe that a lot of people have already seen those videos from our KIEF innovation terminal, where the robotized carriers there are carrying the carrying the heavy and non-standard carriages. We have talked to Viktoriya about that just a couple of minutes ago. This is something that is in everyday life of our company. We cannot work without those. Okay, thank you, Vyacheslav. Now let us go to China. In the pre-COVID times, it was completely normal to consider making business with China. So how to organize our production lines there? What is the situation today? We have discussed a lot among businesses that China might be an investor to Ukraine, and there is a new trend right now to think that maybe it's high time to shift the transition, the production line from China to Ukraine. Is that reality or still fantasies? Okay, let us do it one by one. China wants to invest into Ukraine. Let's discuss this. Sometimes when I'm saying that I work with China, my wife says like with all China, with half of China, with a part of China, because China is huge. Whether China wants to invest in Ukraine, China wants to invest into countries or into places where they will be able to protect their own interest and where their investment will be used. Is Ukraine like that? Not yet. Otherwise, we would have already seen the huge number of Chinese investment to Ukraine. Right now, we can see them mostly on paper than in reality. China is always, first of all, starts out with the state industries, and then they have the business investment in place. But what did the crisis show? And speaking about the increase of prices for the logistics and delivery, we currently have a lot of demand from the Chinese businesses. And they have their own ideas because they're always looking for these new opportunities. Their focus right now and their ideas are mostly directed to this kind of direction. Let us take our plants, let us put there, here in Ukraine, you have a lots of commodities, you have a lots of good materials. We do that in Ukraine, process it in Ukraine, then we deliver it to Europe. Speaking of the delivery prices, that already would be the great value added. If we will speak, for example, the specific examples in one of the projects that we have considered was the production of the disposable dishes. It's a disposable plates that has already been very effective in Ukraine. So they're buying corn from Ukraine or US, they then process it to the flour, then they produce this disposable plates and sell. They say we will start selling it to China, the people will not even know whether we're producing that. But the idea was like that. Let us create this plant here because we have materials here, you have production line here. The cost of the delivery will be really good for us to save some money. It will be around 40% of the added value for the product. That will be a very cool businesses. I have a question. So, the Chinese people think about that. The Chinese are looking for partnership. And when we are telling them, for this specific case, for example, the plant has cost for the 2 lines have cost for like 200 million, and we asked them, we would like to be co-partners, and they said like, no, we don't want to be that. We have a lot of money, just give us the jobs, just give us the administrative support, we will give you the option to do that, but please do not get into our monetization. And I said like, no, I'm not going to be working on that. We have money as well, we have investors as well, and we have smart people too. So I think that for us, for Ukrainian businesses right now, each and every one of us should now think of what are the production lines that we can create here in Ukraine, and not for the Chinese people that will receive the value added, but for us to start working on this economical value that we can create, on how we can create the new jobs. We have the really good moment right now to do that. Viktoriya, you said that there's lots of money on the market right now, and Vyacheslav has also told us that there is a lot of money in China right now. We have discussed in the previous panel, so what are the sectors best for investing today, where we have additional opportunities for the venture investors? Like, where do you see the good sectors for investment? We have spoken about the agricultural businesses, IT and infrastructure. I think that's maybe you've been frequently asked, what can you invest to? They say that people are having a lot of money, so basically, what do you invest to? I would like to say that I would like to ask people to invest in their self-education, because the starting investors, they do making a lot of mistakes, they lose a lot of money. Because basically there's a situation with this Robin Hood, when they're starting, for example, with from nothing to 15 million users who are following gamification, making bad decisions, or invest a lot into very same one position. So basically you have to invest everything in your own education, just to know how it all works out. So we have a lot of resources to do that. We have to invest into your self-education. Speaking about the money in the venture in businesses and our businesses in private equity, and we have a lot of good money overall. So for our businesses, we have increased the money by 10. So before that, we've had the foundation has 5 years ago there was 50 million. Right now they're working in the different. Now they are gathering 500,000 or even 1 billion. So we have also had 500 million in 4 months, and we would like to invest that in a year and a half. So everything accelerates. The speed of investment, the speed of closing your investment. Out of this 147 that we had 8 exits, and we have the exit of 3 years. That was a very brief period of time. Then in this fund we would like to do from in a year and a half to exit more than 80 companies. So basically everything accelerates. The processes accelerate. The processes accelerate because we have enough resources, but also the speed of fighting for the good companies and good opportunities also is accelerated. So at this very brief first question when we started it, that the COVID situation has given us additional amendments. We've started to be reshifting, and we're starting to review the verticals and trends in a faster pace. Before that, we have done it once in 5 years. So right now we do it every year, every second year. We are reviewing our strategy. So the most important thing for us right now is to show the very good level of diversification, not just geography diversification, started from 2010 when we invested to Europe and US from Ukraine. So we have invested in 2000 Europe, in Israel, in UK. We have 10% of our investment is based in Ukraine, 40% are delivered for other countries of Europe, and 40 to US. And we are working with the new geographies. We are scanning we want to represent our new representatives offices. Now they are going to the Southern America, they're going to Southeast Asia, they're going to the MENA region, where they have a lot of new startups, and there is the opportunities to scale up the models that they have been historically working with. For us, the most important focus would be the focus on the big markets with great opportunities to create companies, to generate revenue and sell these companies. So we have this in lots of activity there. So we are in investment now in the $1 trillion opportunities, that digital health, enterprise and tech soft, and consumer tech, that what we are investing into, the mobile logistics, and sometimes ad hoc we're also doing some investments in the cybersecurity, in biotech, but those not just the main focus verticals. We have the 4 main verticals that I mentioned. We have from 10 plus 15 companies, so we are going to be continuing working on that as well. We need to diversify the early entry. This is the new peculiarity for the venture in business. Before, the big venture funds and the big investment funds and investment play like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, they have been working mostly with the different categories of investments, so mostly working with the gross. So right now they are doing the early investment rounds as well. For us, we are the early round investment fund. We can cover all of the 4 stages. We are looking for the companies on pre-seed. We've never done it before, but we know how to do that very well. We're doing this at the early stage, at the A stage, and at the next stages as well. This is our benefit as well. This is the benefit of this new moment at this new times as well. We have to consider of where we're going to as well. So we're speaking about the CO2, what is the sustainability of the companies, in what way we're influencing the economy and ecology with our activity. That is the trend that we're investing to. We have to follow the food tech trends of the shifting of the perspective of how we eat, what we eat. We have the laboratory generated proteins and meats. So basically, how can we live without meat without meat, milk without milk, because it will not pollute the ecosystem. If you know, 14% of all of the CO2 emissions is because of the cattle breeding. And the next, this is going to be also the apparel production, and why then we are producing it if we are always recycling 16% of it. So basically there is a lot of things. We are introducing the consumer tech and B2C, because the big brands that we're all aware of in the shops that we are buying, so right now they are only buying the projects from us. So in our portfolio we have 7 projects in our brands in the apparel and the consumer tech sectors, and they're very interesting, they're very transparent, and you can buy more. And the density of what you're buying, for example, the makeup, and you can buy more than buying in the retail that you don't have to do right now, because you can buy directly from the brand. There is less some negative things and features, and you understand that your investment into the real ambassadors of the brand. So there's a lot of interesting transformatory processes that are currently happening in the world, and we have to consider them closely. 70-80% of Americans and Europeans are currently also building up the sustainability of the brand when they're choosing the brand, and they're ready to change their habits. For example, not buying some habitual makeup or the usual brands. They want to try out something. They want to try the new brands. They want to try sustainable brands. The same about the pharmaceuticals companies. The talents are living, and then we're creating with our venture builders like Embryons and Polar Ventures, European and American venture builders. We're creating this company and we're reselling it to big pharmaceutical companies for $40 million, $60 million. This is the new realities. That was the new reshaping and review that we have to control. Education as well, and Bernard Nisa, the one who has been here at this in 2010, 2015, and Udemy right now they have 2.3 billion of marks up for the Udemy right now, 100,000 courses. They already have more than 500 startup companies are using his courses for increasing their capacities. This is the new reality that has increased during the COVID situation. So education is now becoming slightly different as well. We understand that our children will not learn, will not study without gamification element. I can see that with my children as well. So we're considering investing into the new education with gamification. And there is the opportunity to gamify it when we have something new that never been there before. So we're going to be living all in a new ways. So we are following those parameters as well, and we are adapting it. So our company, our geographies are being adapted, and we're changing it with the speed of sound. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you've managed to write down what you should invest into in the next years to come. Okay, Volodymyr, you're the representatives of the companies that has been producing the very specific products, because, you know, we will not have plastics without plastics. We can already imagine about meat without meat and milk without milk, but plastic without plastics is not thinkable yet. So we recalled the automotive industry, the problems with chips. A lot of people have seen their main opportunity to decrease this idea is maybe that the automotive industry should procure the companies that create chips. And a lot of people have said that those companies that used to only be doing the big integration of the big details, they're going to be starting to use the new direction of production as well. What do you think that maybe if one of the car producers in Ukraine would say that we would like you to become the part of the holding and for you to produce the plastic details only for me? So, you know, not just the private label, that will be something like the next factor of integration would be, can you see enough opportunities for the classical production lines in Ukraine? Are there no risks, for example, that in one day that we will stop using the classical production lines? The whole system is built on independent suppliers, the Volkswagen, the BWM, so basically the BMW, so they all built on the independent suppliers. The system prevents you from doing that, so I'm sure that this kind of a vertical mergence is not possible. The other thing is that we're shifting to the electric cars, and the number of the details is decreasing out of 1,000 nodes to hundreds now. So that is why there's going to be some of the opportunities really nodes. The automotive industry is not the biggest users of chips. You know, the consumer electronics is the main consumer of the chips. So that is why the consumer electronics are searching for the resolution how to resolve this problem in the fastest pace. Speaking on the traditional processing and traditional manufacturing and industry lines in Ukraine, as Vyacheslav has said, mentioning the Chinese letters, but you know, the opportunities are something that we currently use, because there are a lot of opportunities right now to create our own production in Ukraine. Not just taking it from China, because you can take the old technologies, the old equipment from China, and you will not be better than Chinese. That was the question that was asked in 2000 in Canada, in Magna. What makes you better than Chinese? You know, I think that one of my clients is here in the room today. They have something to compare with, and they can tell you why we are better than Chinese. Because when you at a certain level, producing your product at certain level, and people tell you that this is commodities, it's really hard to prove them that you're better than Chinese. You have to give them the price that would be the same or lower than Chinese prices. When you get into the higher level, then you'll already be offered with the right prices, and the people will not be searching for the lowest price ever. They're not going to be going for the low salaries in Ukraine and thus the low prices for the product. They also need to have a high quality product considering logistics as well with the right prices, but they need to have the high quality in time. And having this conversation that the prices is going to be lower, no, that's not adequate. With Volkswagen, we have gone through this thousands of pages of the technical regulations that we have to follow. And for them, that was the most important thing, following the regulations with the right prices. That is why today in Ukraine, I believe there is a good opportunity, windows of opportunity based on the Germany and European equipment for us to be better in the energy efficiency, to be better in the effectiveness. We have good industrial traditions. When we still have people come into the jobs in time, the people leave their job in time, and people are ready to work 7 days a week. They're going to be working shifts, which is not possible in Europe. So basically, we can receive more products than in Europe, and this is one of our benefits we have to use as well. The high qualification here, and I'm also saying that it's important for me to work in Ukrainian markets because we have said that we have 250,000 people working in IT here. Okay, the salaries has grown. Today, Andrei Stavnitsa in IT industry here said that was like $12,000-$15,000 here has already been an average salary in Ukraine already for the good engineer, for the good software engineers. Those are the European and American prices. So you will no longer sell the job of the developer abroad. There will be a problem with the high level of competition. I think the next step, that we have already seen that, is creating the product companies when you are selling the products abroad, but not selling the hours of the developer's work. Those companies there only start to be developing. I know that Viktoriya is searching for those companies and investing in those companies as well. Those companies are very interesting for us, and we are interesting for them as well, because we have experience, we have standards in delivering for the automotive industries. We have been working in the zero defect paradigm. And for us, when our clients are going to the big production line, this is the good moment for our experience, for the production that can go through the million cycles even more. And this will be interesting for them to producing those plastic components and the complex engineering materials, the experience that is currently not enough in Ukraine, but it will definitely be filled in a faster pace. Speaking about the automotive industries in Ukraine, I just also wanted to say that we have association, the producers of the auto component, we have their Porsche, hostel, other companies. I don't see yet the new companies there that someone would go there with a full plan, because we've lost those chances. We have already provided the things for Austria, and we have already provided the stereos for Land Rover, and they're being produced in Slovakia. All of those projects should have been with us, but we have missed them, unfortunately. So that is why I believe that for the in the industrial sector, there's a lot of opportunities today in Ukraine. The biggest problem being the lack of financial support. We don't have the project financial support. We can't take the loan for 7 years when you have nothing to do with the collateral. And the bank is going to be evaluating your collaterals with the prices of the half-decade storehouse, and that will not take us as a high value. Then the rates will be higher. They need a lot of the coverage. We will not be able to have the access to the cheap money to provide additional construction needs. On the other hand, we're not interested for the venture funds because we should have shown growth 30% plus, and maybe they will be interested then. But at this point, they say that there is a traditional industry. And they do that by comparing us with the coal mines or with unequipped plants. How you will gonna get to the margin? How will you get your people? People are running away to Poland. In order people not to run away to Poland, we're increasing their salaries. Though there will be no good situation for the salaries. You can only win by increasing the quality of the product, increasing the intensity of the process, by saving some materials when you're making the right decisions. That's when you have the additional effects. When we speak about the low margins of the production lines and of the producers that are getting everyone into the lowest margin by comparing them to China. That is not a good thing to do. When the IT people providing their services to the West, no one is evaluating that has been made in Ukraine. Everybody says what is the prices overall in the world with no connection to geography. Still, right now we have this connection to the automotive industry, but we have to step out of it based on the good quality and the reputation that we give. Yes, thank you, Vyacheslav. I wanted to be the Chinese lawyer, if I may say that, because speaking of the Chinese production, I wouldn't say that they already have the outdated production line. They have the most modern production lines there with the great products, unique products that we're using from China. And this joke that the God has made the world and all of the other things have been made in China, that is the joke that is the true joke. What has happened during the coronavirus? The world was shaking because when China has stopped its production of lots of components, the whole world has finally understood how dependent they are on the Chinese production lines, and that the world doesn't have the diversified risks at all. And after that, since then, lots of countries, the US and European countries, they started to think that the economical security of their country depends on China. And they have started to build, even if it will be expensive, they started to diversify the markets and they started buying from other producers, not to be depending on China. The whole world was shaken with this dependence. And I believe that for Ukraine, there is as well a new stage that has to be used. But saving the person who's drowning is in the hands of the person that's drowning. So right now, we should not wait for the state to act. We have to do that on our own as well. We have to learn how we can use this moment of opportunities when the European customers and American customers are ready to diversify the risks and are ready to buy from other countries as well. We have to use European production line, Chinese production lines. We have to analyze it. For example, the Lempert crane will cost you 300 euro. The Zoom Leon in China that have absolutely copied everything in China will cost $200,000 in China. So the customers have to choose on their own. So whether they will buy 3 towers and they can use that, or to buy Lempert that costs more but you can use it forever. So we have to analyze it, because you have to analyze the production line. Even during the exhibitions and the trade shows, I have seen that when the Italians are selling their own production lines, but basically they are forgetting they're selling it as made in Italy, but sometimes they forget to take the label made in China. So sometimes there is a big question of what we are actually buying. The experience is always as your backside. The experience is always with us, but always on the back. So I can tell you a lot of things, a lot of cases, both successful and failed cases. Both of them exist. From what I have understood, I've always had mentioned your favorite thing. I'm sorry, I didn't want to offend you in any way, but for this 25 years, I have seen a lot of different scenarios of working with China, both successful, super successful, and super failed, when people went bankrupt and they've lost a lot. For example, when they received their equipment as a Lego constructor with no instructions of how to gather it, and they try to adapt to that as how that works. So of course it's quite clear that all of the economy has fallen down. If I had this lawyer, then I would have been already in a jail, I think. This lawyer, no one is considering this quality. Chinese quality is good, but they're not really running in good times. By the way, today is the day of a lawyer, so I would like to congratulate you on that as well. Dear colleagues, I would like to inspire all of you to give us some questions in the chat board, because we have a question already to Viktoriya. How do you believe? Whether you believe that the venture capital investment market is a bubble, where are the venture funds due to the big demand of the potentially successful startups that are ready to invest to the pre-seed and the Series E? Okay, not a lot of people know what pre-seed is and Series A is. Based on the person who written it knows more than the average person here. So, Viktoriya, what would you say about that? So, do you believe that the venture market is a bubble? Well, I don't think that it's the same bubble that we have discussed during the previous crisis, that's for sure, because, for example, the companies that we're investing to, yes, of course, and this rounds, their cost is increasing year from year. For basically the early rounds, there are increasing in prices by 30% year after year. That's what you've said. We have more money. There is some certain inflation component as well that hasn't been shown in the right way that we see. We have more money, that's for sure, but in our businesses it's mostly about digitalization of the overall economy. So a lot of companies, they turn to digital, they scale up and they become really big, but only working in the same territory. So the COVID has helped us, and they have given us this opportunity for Latin America and Asia to create their own alternative production line, thus diversifying those Chinese risks that we have been talking about in this just a second ago. So there is now a great opportunity to create the big internet startups, even in the framework of one country, even in the framework of Ukraine. There are opportunities for sure. So you have to be very adequate in understanding the reality. There are some moments of the political risks we are also considering as venture investors as well. We understand that a lot of businesses, especially the ones that have been connected with the shift of technologies, with the IPs, the businesses with the data transfer, with the transactions, for example, the depot that the European Union didn't recommend to sell to Google. They have to say there's a multi-billion-dollar company in the next years or two, and it will not be sold to Google just because it deals with all of the documentation with the European Union. It's just one of the single examples. So there are things that we should consider. For example, the personal data and the personal data protection, the healthcare data. So the companies that are dealing in those cases and in these businesses, the digital health, the medical companies, the financial companies, and the financial data overall, everything that has to be GDPR compliant, the niche products, cybersec. So all of that is becoming really, really hyper local. So there is a lot of opportunities to do a lot of cool projects in the framework of one country. Even if you will make it continentally, it's not even possible. You have to consider all of those factors as well. So we will continue with the active investment into venture, and we plan to have at least 80 or 100 companies in that in the next year and a half. So this is just a response to what is currently going on due to the global digitalization. What Vyacheslav has said about the robots and the Nova Poshta, and even the need of the one company. Those are 1,000 robots that will substitute the employees. It's just because it's hard to find the highly qualified people for that work. It's hard to control the quality, and all of this opportunity with the remote work, with this opportunity for us to move in a different way, work in a different way, that all creates a lot of opportunities and perspective, creating the new verticals, creating sub-vertical businesses, starting with logistics, ending up with healthcare, education, remote work, food, healthcare, and all of the other sectors. And that is why there's a lot of opportunities, a lot of money, and a lot of companies. So by the way, the money that used to be used in the offline, they're currently slightly flowing to online, digital, venture capital, the so-called startups that haven't been just like super innovative companies before. Most of the companies from our portfolio, this is the transformation of the online business into online. So providing the new elements of digitalization, those are the real businesses that we have invested into and that we are controlling on the early stages. Okay, dear colleagues, we have 4 minutes, 40 seconds. The final question to the panelists, to Vyacheslav, Klymov, and Volodymyr Lempert. The classical question at the business forum: what would you advise in the conditions of the new business economies to the new business projects, or the new businesses, when people are now making this choice to open their own business? They decided that yes, they will do. What recommendations can you give? Please, 2 minutes each. Okay, the first recommendation would be, because I'm always saying that I'm always supporting the entrepreneurship, so the first recommendation would be launch it, start your business. Even though the time doesn't seem to be the calmest. And even though we are in the post-COVID, or at least ending COVID crisis, we are based in the starting economical crisis right now, the economical crisis and the post-COVID crisis that are connected to one another. But still, please try not to follow these external conditions. Do not be afraid of those conditions and to launch your businesses. The second advice would be out of the times of the old economy and maybe still in the time of the new economy is try to be client-oriented, try to be client-centered, because basically use the client centricity. Always follow your clients and always do the products that are needed to your clients. The client has to be in the middle of this ecosystem. You always have to think and always have to improve your products on a daily basis. Simplify, facilitate, make it more available, affordable products. So those businesses that you're launching, the business has to be client-centered. Another advice, and I have said that in the beginning, the talents, they rule the world right now. Talents are the gold and the oil of the modern economy. Everything will be built, despite the total digitalization of the world. Everything is still built on talents. You know, at the very beginning of every digital line and every digital chain, there is still an engineer behind it. There is still a human brain there. There is still a marketologist there. There is still a leader, an entrepreneur there. So, despite the total digitalization that prevails, that has to be the air that you breathe with, the air for your business, you still have to participate in this fight for talents. You have to grow these talents inside of your businesses. You have to make your business attractive to the external talents. So 3 advice from my side would be, do not be afraid, as Olga has said, you know, the take it and roll. This is a famous book. You know, just do business. Keep your client in mind. Make your client the center of your ecosystem and try to keep your talents. Okay, Volodymyr, 2 minutes for you. You know, if you're thinking whether launching your business or not launching your business, do not launch it. If you can not live without it, then do it. But if you want to, you know, have sleepless nights and keep on thinking whether I should make those ideas, or no, you can do that at any age. You know, there's no due date, there's no age limits or whatever. There has to be the need for you to be able to do that for more than anything else. You can be, you know, half pregnant in your businesses. You have to be always there and always present. So my advice would be, make this final decision when you cannot live without that. Well, you cannot stay without that. You have enough capital not to be afraid to take the risk, and when you're not afraid to lose it, like that. Okay, with this optimistic note that make business when you can do no other way. So let us thank to all of our speakers. That has been a tremendously nice panel. We're really grateful to KIEF International Economic Forum. So we are closing this panel with that. Thank you for your attention.